So yeah, by the end of this video, you're going to know why you probably didn't want to grow up and you would have been quite happy being a 7-year-old for the rest of your life. It turns out that Peter Pan may have been onto something. What did you want to do when you grow up? That's something that we ask ourselves when we get to a certain age. When we're 4, 5, 6, and 7, we're not thinking about these things when we're in primary school or infant school or first school. It's not until you get to maybe age 10, 11, when a load of pressure just gets put on you from the world around us, whether it's your parents, your school teachers, your peers, your friends, family, the person who lives next door. All of a sudden, we just start comparing ourselves to other people based on our self-conception and our perception. But when you were 7, you wasn't comparing yourself to another 7-year-old. You could put 10 7-year-olds in a room with a ball. The 7-year-olds all look different. They're from different countries. They have different backgrounds. And within a couple of minutes, they'll all start playing with each other. They'll all start playing with that ball. They'll find a way because they're kids and they use their imagination. They still have that imagination. When you were 10, you weren't thinking, oh, I can't wait to grow up and work in marketing. I can't wait to work a 12-hour day and get home late and have a lunch break. I can't wait to start setting my alarm clock and going to work. I just really can't wait to do that. But then suddenly this just encroaches on us. And when we reflect on that, it's actually quite bizarre that this is the world that we live in and this is the way we're expected to behave and act. And then if we also take that another step further, it's like when you were a kid, you weren't thinking, I just really want to grow up and pay taxes. I want to really get that best insurance policy. I can't wait to start having medical bills. I can't wait to pay property taxes and 20%, 30, 40, 50% of everything I earn, which is your time, then goes to the government. You weren't thinking that. So how we were all in for a big shock. Wow. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But our life is on a game board. If you think about a board game, you're the piece, you roll the dice and you move around and this game begins and the game ends. Throughout that process, we can achieve and do different things. Now, we have, from a reality perspective, from an earthly perspective, we have predestined points or milestones, okay? And it's those milestones that you probably were looking forward to as a child. The first one would have been, you can't wait to leave school because we don't like being controlled. We don't like having to sit in a school seat at a desk and have somebody tell us stuff. I was in school and the whole time I was just dreaming and imagining doing something else. Not everybody would have been like that. And then you were probably thinking, I want to drive. I can't wait to drive, whether it's 16, 17, 18, whatever the driving age is where you are, you probably were looking forward to that. And then it would have been the drinking age, whether it's 18, 21, 25. You would have been looking forward to drinking so you can go out and party with your friends and act silly. And yeah, that was fun. But then what's the next milestone? Once you're 21 and you can party and drink, it's okay, now I need to get a proper job because people are putting pressure on me all of a sudden. I need to move out, got to find somewhere to live, got to start paying for things. And then we get to the age of 30 and then I wouldn't say it's a downward slope, but our milestones become less frequent and certainly less exciting. And, you know, we don't look forward to aging. But as kids, we weren't thinking, I can't wait to grow up to be an adult so I can do adult things and all of a sudden lose my immaturity and overnight become mature. I've got friends and I know people who actually get angry and triggered at other adults who aren't as mature as they think they should be. As an adult, they start thinking other adults need to act mature and act like an adult and start doing adult things. But who's to say that you can't be a child at heart for the rest of your life? Because only our physical body ages. This might not be a concept that you've ever thought of, or you've ignored, or you haven't felt it necessary to think about it. But our physical body ages in this world, in this 3D, three-dimensional earth that we all live in, and we're all here now. However, the person you are behind your eyes and between your ears, the person watching this video now, the person that was a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 13, 14, 15-year-old, and a 20-year-old, and however old you are, maybe you're in your 70s, 50s, 30s, 20s, it doesn't matter. That person remains the same. Now, really think about that, because it's important. The person you are behind your eyes and between your ears, your consciousness, is the same person that it was when you were a kid. Our consciousness and our soul doesn't age. Our soul and our spirit may become wiser while we're here. We may get more wisdom, but it doesn't actually age. Only our physical body ages. As we get older, we think about being kids all the time. We think, man, I wish I'd have done this. I wish I'd have spent more time doing that. I wish I'd have asked that person out on a date. I wish I'd have made different decisions. I wish I could go back to being a 7-year-old and playing outside, climbing trees, riding my bike, playing with other kids on the street. If I could flick a switch now and go back to doing that forever, I'd do it. Because you probably find on reflection that you were at your happiest when you were that age, probably between 4 and 7. And then after that, we start getting conditioned. We start becoming a product of the reality which is inflicted on us. We get conditioned to it and we mold ourselves to that. And then what we really end up doing is creating a matrix for ourselves. We've all created our own matrix. Whatever it is you're doing, wherever you are, you've created this world and your own reality. You've created a set of rules and structures in place for yourself to go along with the pre-existing rules and structures that are already in place in this world and in this matrix. Whenever anybody talks about a matrix, they think of the film from the late 90s with Neo. But on simple face value, a matrix is just a set of control. It's a control structure or a grid, and we live inside a world where there are controls on us. There are things that we can do and things that we can't do, whether that's the rule of law, running around naked, getting to a certain age before you can drive a car. You can't drive a car when you're 10 years old. So there are rules and laws in place, but that we do have to follow. We have to follow many of them, but most of them we don't. But we're self-policing ourselves to follow rules and laws. He's barking at that deer again. Just to refocus the screen. Come and lie down, come on, this way. Down. So there are rules in place that we have to follow, and we self-police ourselves around pre-existing rules and conditions and controls, but we also create our own. All right, Monty, quiet. Good boy. All right, he needs a treat. He's being silly again. Here you go. So we're adults now, or most people watching this will be, and we long for a time when we could be kids because we were happier when we were kids and we had our whole lives to look forward to. So the question is, did you actually want to grow up? Or would you quite happily have been a child for the rest of your life? Other than the milestones, which we've just talked about, driving a car, drinking alcohol, our lives were much simpler when we were kids. There's a difference between being a child and an adult. When we're kids, we have somebody to look after us. But again, that's just the world that we live in. If you think about the animal kingdom, most animals might stay with their parents, some for a couple of months. Bears might stay with their mum for a couple of years, and then they have to go out on their own. We end up spending time with our parents until we're 18. Nowadays, a lot of kids are living at home until they're in their 30s. I have a friend who's 40 or 42 and still lives at home. And I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm just saying in his mind, he must be dependent on his parents because there's a reason why he hasn't gone out there and staked his own claim. It's not always financially related. If you could go back to being a kid, and we all have our inner child which remains inside of us, how would you live your life differently, and what decisions would you make, and how would they differ? And if your decisions led to where you are now, would you have still made them, or would you have made adjustments? We can always change our future, because the past doesn't have to dictate who you are now. Whatever it is that you've been through, whatever it is that you've experienced, whether they're positive or negative, and we all experience a lot of negativities, which drain on our soul and our energy and maybe keep us stuck in a low vibrational state. But whatever has happened in the past and whatever's behind you doesn't have to dictate your future. It doesn't have to dictate who you are now. We can always make a change. We just have to be brave and confident enough to make that change. And yeah, you might be thinking, well, that's easy for you to say. But originally it was easy for me to think. I had to put changes in place to make the life that I want to experience and the life that I want to live while I'm here. And it doesn't have to be material. It doesn't have to be living in a castle. It doesn't have to be living in a mansion or being a pro sports person or a racing car driver. It just has to be whatever it is that you want, whatever it is that you want to be. I can promise you that if I could be a kid for the rest of my life, and I think secretly in my heart and my inner self has always remained not childlike, but there's an element of it which hasn't wanted to mature and become an adult or a grown-up. Because when I look around at other adults and grown-ups, sometimes I don't like what I see. We're taught that we need to respect our elders because they have all the wisdom and the experience. But as you've gotten older, some people may mature physically and mentally, but they still make poor decisions. People are still selfish. People are still obsessed with stuff, things. And I've got plenty of friends. They're still the same people that they were when they were kids. They're only just a bit older. They don't actually know anything else. They haven't read any books. They haven't gone out. They don't have any life experience. But the little children of today are having to look up to those people, and they're expected to get wisdom and information and respect those people when actually they haven't developed themselves. They haven't developed spiritually. They haven't developed in wisdom, and they haven't set out on a path of any self-development. So it's like, why should a child then look up to that person and respect them just because they're older? So if you've got children, have a think about that. And if you don't have children, or if you are a child, then, we can all think about it and ponder and philosophize on the disconnect between being a child and an adult, because there is a huge disconnect. When we're kids, we want different things. And then as an adult, we're then conditioned to want more different things. And usually they're things that we never wanted when we were kids. And we have to ask ourselves, why is that? When we were little, before we were taught how to think and act and behave, our hearts tell us that there is something greater out there, that there is something else. Along the journey, that gets eradicated and erased by the world that we live in. It's important to always remember your inner child and what your inner child would have said and thought whenever it is you're approaching a situation or a scenario where you're having a conversation, thinking about what the other person's saying. Think, what would my inner child have thought? What would I have done when I was a kid? Remember that there is something much greater out there, but it's not just out there, it's also already in here. It's inside you already. We just need to rediscover that and remember it. Please comment and let me know whether you're doing what it is that you wanted to do when you were a kid. When you were 7 years old, are you doing what you envisaged doing when you grew up? And maybe the first idea you had about a job or a career might have been when you were 10 or 11. Usually we want to be vets, doctors, pilots, and join the army. Are you doing those? Or did you end up becoming a corporate lawyer or maybe you work in advertising, or drive a lorry or a truck. Let me know. If you've enjoyed this chat, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to put out videos daily at the moment, and I'll see how consistent I can remain at that. Back outside again today because the weather's mild. Typical Brit, always talking about the weather, although it's not as warm as it was yesterday. Last night, we actually had some heavy, what I'd describe it as like tropical style storms because the humidity was really high and it remained warm into the evening. That created a lot of rain, which was good when I was lying in bed because I could hear rain pit-pattering on the ceiling, which is a level of mindfulness, which I enjoy. And we all like sleeping, listening to the rain, leaves in the tree. Remember, folks, it's a full moon tonight. So today is the time to make some of those adjustments we've been talking about. You can do a full moon ritual. I don't like the word or term ritual, but you can write down things that you want to drop and things that you want to change and things that you want to lose. Write that down, burn it, shelve it. Don't think about it again. And then write down another list of what it is that you want to achieve, what it is that you want, and then hang on to that list and then think about it before you go to bed, and think about it tomorrow morning, and think about it the day after that, and eventually it will materialize. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you again.